Mm, except for the PowerPoint. Alright, so what we're going to do today? Today, I hope to discuss two persons, John Hick and Wilfred Cantwell Smith. Well, I don't want to use this slides lah. Maybe I should just go to the point so you can check with my slide later, because I don't want to drag my lecture. Okay, so today I'm going to discuss Wilfred Cantwell Smith and John Hick and how instrumental they are with regard to religious pluralism. Last week we have discussed about secular humanism, and that was a preamble to religious pluralism in the sense that it provides or it prepared the ground for religious pluralism. Yeah? How uh, how was that possible? That was possible when you know thinkers, politicians in America um, think about how to manage the society away from the intervention of religion. Yeah, so they use the human values per se to regulate the society or to maintain the order of the society. There were some values like, for example, respectfulness, tolerance, yeah, freedom, human right, that became the so-called new religion of the people. And especially this is very useful in a country whereby people are diverse. They're coming from different part of places. Their culture, their language, their belief systems are totally different from each other. So they cannot refer to religion, for example, to unite them. They have to have certain formulations or concepts that can bind them together. And in the context of America, United States of America, the thinkers, the politicians, the philosophers thought that it is good to find a concept that can unite the American people together. So it's a concept of nationhood. Yeah? In Malay we call it negara bangsa, and that's how this idea of nationhood came about. Yeah? Negara bangsa, you're American first before you're Asian or before you're Muslim or before you're Chinese. Yeah? Um, Sounds very good lah. And actually later in 1999, this is in addition to what we have discussed last week. Uh, a scholar from Harvard University has launched a project. A project is called Pluralism Project. Her name is Diana LX. For some of you who choose to write an assignment on Diana LX, you will read about her. He's a philosopher, lecturer at Harvard University, and she led a project, pluralism project, and she managed to convince the government to adopt pluralism as a policy in America. So today, pluralism became a policy in America, and this is very much inspired by the project run by Harvard University. So, Diana Al-Aq is one of the example who takes religious pluralism um, as referring to religious plurality. So, her version of religious pluralism is religious plurality, yeah, which I contested, I challenged very much because um, it is quite I would say interesting, or it is quite shocking for me lah. Interesting yet shocking for me to learn that Diana L. being a great scholar, of course I regard her as a great scholar because she served at the Harvard University, and she ventured a very big project funded by the government, right? And she must have very good grants, good millions of money to fund that project. Yeah? But then she did not uh, acknowledge John Hick, yeah, the person who formulated religious pluralism in her work, which I found very strange because obviously at least she had to debate on John Hick, yeah, uh, because she said that she does not subscribe to the definition offered by John Hick on religious pluralism. But I think in terms of academic or scholarly study, this is quite disappointing with regard to GNLX support for religious pluralism, because we expect a scholarly debate, a pros and cons, a critical analysis of John Hick, and a more subtle arguments why religious pluralism uh, is a good solution for America. Yeah. For your information, I figure out that no, I think religious tourism may be useful in America based on my readings. Yeah, based on my readings and understanding of the real scenario in America just before they establish the government or the country with the current concept of nation state. Yeah. I found that, I mean, I mentioned this earlier because the people came from different part of places, they were from different ethnicity, they spoke different language, religions wise you find that, for example, the Christian, they came from different part of the world, South America, Central America, North America, Europe, North Africa, and then from the Balkans, and that Christianity are divided into three major groups: Orthodox, Protestant and Catholic. And that under all these denominations they have sub-sectarians or sectarians. Under Protestant, how many sectarians, right? So the Americans were facing lots of troubles to unite this, even the Christians, because the Christians had different approaches altogether to a certain extent. At one point of time, they were like killing each other, and they were hostile to each other because they compete in terms of convincing or in terms of uh, doing missionary to others. Yeah, so like the Protestants were trying to get as many followers as possible. The Catholics were also trying to get as many uh, followers as possible, and that's the reason why you have so many churches in one location. We have so many churches because one group of Christians go to this church and the other group go to that church, and the system in Christianity is that you affiliate yourself to a particular church and the church will take care of you, and you don't go to other churches. Yeah, because if you belong to one church, you should affiliate yourself to that particular churches. I mean, this happened also in Malaysia. This my encounter with my Christian friends. So when I asked him like, what church are you belong, and he said that I'm not. Our church is unlike other churches. Our church is open up. I mean, anybody can just enter our church. So not necessarily you're Muslim or you're non-Muslim. But if you're Christians, so for example, you're Protestant, but you're also welcome to my church. So that's how I learned that in Christianity, a person does not simply go to any of the churches, he go to the church that he affiliates with. Yeah. All right. This is interesting, right? So you see, the situation in America, especially, has influenced uh, globally, especially after the 20th and of course the 21st century. That America became a superpower after the Cold War, and every values are expected to emulate the American values. And I think Diana LX works very hard to convince the government, and she managed to convince the government to extend this project of pluralism throughout the world. Yeah. And that's how you see that in 2010 the discourse of religious pluralism started to become a debate in Malaysia. Whereas when I did my PhD in 2000 and I started my research in 2001, I think, on religious pluralism. And during that time, there was no discourse yet on religious pluralism. I mean, only among certain groups, yeah. But then what I have at my disposal are the very limited materials and also online materials, yeah, and articles from journals as well as books, yeah. But after I finished my PhD in 2005, I noticed that people started to talk, especially among the liberals, yeah, and the Muslims encounter, especially the NGOs who are very sensitive, yeah, about religious pluralism. For some of them, start to learn what is happening in overseas, especially in the US now, because by 2000, Diana LL has started this project on religious pluralism project in America. And then when one of our ministers started to talk about religious pluralism in his very auspicious talk at the London School of Economics, I think that's how the debate became, a heated debate in Malaysia, the 2010, in conjunction with the speech at the London School of Economics. If you want to know whose speech is that, then you better go and Google who spoke at the London School of Economics and talk about religious pluralism as a way of managing diversity of religions. Okay, enough with that recap of what we did in the last week. Today, I want to explain to you what is actually religious pluralism. And I will not influence you, but this is how I feel about this philosophy. Yeah, and I hope you can internalize based on my inputs today. Alright, so today two very important instrumental figures in religious pluralism. First is Wilfred Cantwell Smith. Yeah, Wilfred Cantwell Smith is very interesting guy. He's a Christian theologian. He's a Christian missionary. He belonged to the Presbyterian Church. Yeah. Um, what else? Yeah, he's a missionary. I told you, and then he settled down in India for quite some time because uh, he no, I'm not going to present the slides. You're going to watch the slide on your own. I'm going to give my lecture today based on the points that I think are very important. Yeah. So I hope you capture the point and get check with the slides. So Wilfred Cantwell Smith is a missionary. He went to India for quite some time and he did missionary there. And when he was in India, he started to think a lot about Christianity. He's a missionary, Christian Presbyterian, and he went to India to do missionary. And then he started to think about Christianity. I mean, that was very interesting for Wilfred Cantwell Smith. And he studied Islam. He has a very good intensive book on Islam, with the Islam. Yeah? And he discussed a lot about Islam. He made good recognition of Islam. He said the most religion that has the very accurate meaning or term is Islam, because Islam does not represent any particular figure or personality or events, but Islam refers to the action of a person who affiliates with that religion. Because Islam from the word salama means, peace. And the act of you that make you a peaceful person is when you submit. So when you submit to God, you are a peaceful person. So he said this is the best name a religion can have. Yeah? So what I'm trying to say that he's a missionary, he studied as a religion, he's a scholar of comparative religion, he's a theologian, he's a philosopher of religion. So he's a man of versatility in terms of his academic background. Yeah. So he had an encounter with the Hindus, and that I think gave a lot of impact on him. And later he joined the academia. He went to McGill. And he in India he had a sharing session with one prominent Muslim scholar by the name of Ismail Raji Al Faruqi. Ismail Raji Al Faruqi, and he likes Ismail Al Faruqi, and he invited Ismail Al Faruqi to join him at McGill University. And I mean, over there, Ismail Raja Al Faruqi started to challenge Smith's understanding of religion. Yeah, and I think Ismail Raja Al Faruqi has benefited a lot the discourse on Christianity as developed by Wilfred Cantwell Smith. Okay, so what actually the discourse developed by Wilfred Cantwell Smith about religion, especially Christianity? So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 points. One of the work that made a great impact to the way people understand religion, by Wilfred Cantwell Smith is the book titled The Meaning and End of Religion. Yeah? The Meaning and End of Religion is a work by him that challenged the Western discourse on on the word religion. What religion is all about. You know, the debate on religion has been discussed since the 17th century because the word religion before 17th century was so much uh, exclusive to Christianity. I mean, when you talk about religion, it's Christianity, no other than Christianity. Yeah? So the definition for religion other than Christianity is are pagan. Are pagan. So either you are Christians or you are pagan. Yeah. So and then after the Enlightenment, scholars started to define religion differently because they thought that they cannot be only Christianity as religion because there are certain components in religion that are also owned by people of other faiths. Even say, for example, Emily Durkheim, a very prominent socialist, not socialist, sociologist, sorry, went to the very remote jungle, not jungle actually, forest, a very big forest in Australia, and he found that the Aborigines there um, also construct religion or believe in religion, and they have um, what he called as totem and totem a statue actually to worship. So he was so surprised. I mean, Emily Durkheim was so surprised that how is that possible that people in this remote place still believe in religion? What makes them believe in religion? So, you know, the modern scientists were trying very hard to define religion. Is it necessary that a religion should have scripture? Is it necessary that a religion should have prophets, should have the idea of revelation, um, should have the idea of angels, you know, afterlife, before life, so on and so forth. Yeah? And so some of the scholars, like maybe I have mentioned this name to you, Frederick Max Muller made a breakthrough in the early 19th century. When I said 19th century, it means 1800, yeah? Because he's born in 1800. So in the 19th century, he started to say or to invite people, let's study religion away from theology. Yeah, because religion should be approached in the so-called scientific manner. Right, we discussed this in the external reason for the expansion of religion, for the acceptance of religious pluralism, the development of study of religion, isn't it? So Frederick Max Muller said, let's discuss religion in a very purely scientific approach, empirical and rational approach. Let's rule out revelation, Bible, or religion for that matter. Yeah, and therefore develop sociological approach, phenomenological approach, scientific, not scientific, sociological approach, yeah? Economics. Yeah? Economics also explain the way people believe. Yeah. So this was the development, and what about all this development? After like 2 centuries of discourse, Wilfred Cantwell Smith in the 20th centuries, you know, suddenly said that oh, the whole lot discourse into 2 centuries wrong. That's why the title of the book, The Meaning and End of Religion. He simply disqualified all these meanings and terms, including the term used by the theologian, by the Christian theologian especially, of course. I mean, his work is actually a critique to the Christian theologian discussion or definition of religion, as well as a modern secular definition of religion. Yeah. So he said the word religion should not be perceived as akin to belief system or that we had in Christianity, yeah? And should not also reflect uh, ideal sociological, phenomenological, so on and so forth. Yeah? Because why? Why did he say this is wrong? He said the word religion has made man more exclusive than before. So when we start to think about religion, the first thing that tick in our mind would be the idea of excluding others. So let's say if you are Christian, like I said just now, whoever are not Christians, whoever are not Christians, then they are pagan. Whoever that are not Muslims, then they are condemned. Whoever are not Buddhists, and they do not deserve nirvana. Who are not Hindus, they are not deserve Achman, yeah, or karma, not karma, moksha. All right. So from religious discourse, the word religion is problematic according to Wilfred Cantwell. Now, what about from the modern discourse? The modern discourse were also distorted in the sense that if people study religion from the perspective of sociology, they can only understand religion from the perspective of sociology. They will not be able to appreciate religion from the perspective of psychology. So it's a reductionist approach. This is called a reductionist approach, that you reduce religion into a certain phenomenon, sociological phenomenon, psychological phenomenon, or phenomenological phenomenon, or economic phenomenon. Like for example, Weber said that why capitalism can prosper in the US, because capitalism is very much complementing or very much jive with Protestantism. And that's why he wrote a book titled The Protestant Ethics. Yeah? Why? Because Protestantism value capitalism, and that's how capitalism can prosper in the US. So this is putting so-called religion into this economic function of the people. And then like Darwin and Jung, Carl Jung, define religion from the psychoanalysis perspective, psychology perspective. This is reduct, reducing religion into that particular, very zooming religion into that particular function alone. So Rkud controls me said that we have to let go of this discourse, because if we carry on with this discourse, okay, this is a point. If we carry on with this discourse, it will make us more exclusive than ever. There is no way that you will be inclusive. There's no way that you will be pluralist if you subscribe to this idea of religion. Okay, so first we know that he, rejected the word religion, and he, in replacement of the word religion, he said what we should acknowledge is that the term religion that we believe so far actually refers to two meanings. The first one is faith, and the second one is cumulative tradition. So he said it's better that we use the word faith and cumulative tradition instead of religion, because if we are able to appreciate these two terms, then we will not be exclusive. Okay, what these two terms means? Faith means your not only affiliation, but your conviction. Yeah, faith means your conviction to the truth. Yeah, so faith is very personal. It's very sacred. Faith is very personal and it's very sacred. You cannot measure it. You you cannot see it. You cannot measure it. Even, I mean, you cannot measure the other people's faith. You cannot even measure your own faith. This is according to Wilfred Cantwell Smith, not my idea. Wilfred Cantwell Smith said that, look, even the Muslim knows about this, because there's a belief among the Muslim theologians that one faith can be high in the morning and can be decrease in the afternoon. So he was talking about al-imanu yazidu wa yanqusu. Faith can be high in the morning, increase in the morning, and can be decrease in the afternoon. You committed a lot of sin, no, your degree of faith become lesser. He said faith is very, very subtle, very essence, very core, refers to personal and subjective It's very personal and subjective. So every man has this, and according to him, faith belongs to the sacred world. If you can still remember the graph that I've shown you, or the explanation that I've given you when we discuss about Tawhid, I mentioned you about the existence of two realms, the realms of the sacred and the realms of the profane. So he said that faith belongs to this realm of the sacred. This realm is beyond human comprehension, beyond human knowledge. So you cannot debate about this realm. You cannot have certainty about this realm. So let it go. Just this is between you and your God. Don't encroach into it. Everybody has this. So Wilfred Cantwell Smith justify in his own way how he valued the faith of the Hindus. I think this is what Christian missionary got stuck, because in their understanding, they are the only people that will go to heaven, isn't it? But when they look people of other religions, they were surprised to see that people of other religions are also faithful. They also believe in God, yeah? And they also talk about, so-called salvation, but in different terms. So, I guess that what Wilfred Cantwell Smith is trying to justify is that not necessarily that people who are not Christian that they are not religious. They are religious. They are religious, but the issue is they don't follow the way of Christianity. So how do we deal with this? How do we deal with this? Especially now when we talk about living together, tolerance, coexistence, human rights, so on and so forth. So he said, okay, let's define religion as faith, and this faith dimension is subjective. Yeah, it cannot be seen and it cannot be measured. Let it as it is, let it be as it is, and don't meddle into it. Now let's take a look at the other component of the word religion that he is proposing. He said the other component is cumulative tradition. And the whole lot of Wilfred Cantwell Smith discourse about religion actually based on this second meaning of religion, which is cumulative tradition. What is cumulative tradition? Cumulative tradition refers to the practices of people, so-called religious practices of the people inherited from the past. Yeah. So for example, why Muslim pray as such? Why Muslim behave as such? Why Muslim greet people as such? Yeah. Why Muslim perceive certain thing as such? Yeah. This is because uh, that has been an inherited tradition, inherited and accumulated. Your CGPA, cumulative CGPA. You understand what accumulation means? Yeah. It means that it has been there, adding up from one generation to another until today. So you have of your festivals, you have your fundamentals today, in addition to whatever practices that you have, that all together define what Islam is all about. So there's an element of culture, there's an element of society in the uh, practice of religion, and this makes called religion dynamic. Okay? So the cumulative tradition makes religion very dynamic, and if you can appreciate this fact, you will not disqualify the other people's tradition. Because just imagine you're living in India, then of course you are prone to live a life based on the tradition practice there. Your food, the way you greet people, the way you behave, the language that you speak, yeah, the way you're thinking will follow this tradition. If you are in Malaysia, this is your tradition. I mean, Chinese in Malaysia are so much different with Chinese in the uh, land of China. Especially in terms of their believing in their so-called religion, even in terms of their tradition, isn't it? Yeah, because according to Wilfred Cantwell Smith, that inherited tradition is very relative, very dynamic, and it is human factor. Okay, what is more important about his idea of cumulative tradition here is that Wilfred Cantwell Smith is trying to argue that religion is a whole lot about human activities. Religion is in fact, from the perspective of cumulative tradition, is human institution. This is the conclusion that he gives with regard to so-called religion, the new meaning of religion as cumulative tradition, that religion is human institution. Religion is human construct, historical construct. Remember I'm talking about you, the meaning of history, time and space. So it's very contextualized, bound to time and bound to space. So religion as a human construct is a human phenomenon. If it is human phenomenon, it has nothing to do with the sacred whatsoever. I remember when I draw you the graph, what you call that, profane. Yeah, it's the worldly thing, it's the secular thing. Has nothing to do with the sacred. And this is another dimension of secularism, the one that I asked you to define in your previous quiz. This is an explicit secular understanding of religion. Perceive religion as merely the worldly activities, human engagement per se, without having any intervention or rule whatsoever with the sacred. And this is the foundation of religious pluralism. Perceiving religion as purely human activities. And bear in mind, this is based on a dilemma faced by a Christian missionary, a Christian theologian. Okay, that's about it. From the very beginning, he provided a general debate about the meaning of religion. And then, when criticizing Christianity, he said, look, we, the Christians, according to him, have been very exclusive. Those are not Christians, they are not religious, they are condemned. And this idea of exclusivism, this doctrine of extra ecclesia nulla salus and the sola fides, the way we perceive the others should be removed. Exclusivism is wrong. This is what Wilfred Cantwell Smith was. He criticized Christianity. Yeah? And he criticized Christianity for behaving in an exclusive manner. Yeah, because he said, look, you have also to understand, to appreciate the other way of believing. Yeah, you can carry on believing in what you want, but you should also respect other system of belief. Yeah? And this idea of I'm Christian, you are Buddhist, then you are condemned should to be demolished. Yeah. Uh, so what he was trying to say when he stressed this is that we do not expect Christianity to be to continue becoming exclusive at this pluralistic age. In the past, maybe the Christians were living among themselves. They were um, very exclusive in that manner. You are living in majority. The most challenges that you faced were the Christians themselves because they came from the other denomination or sectarian. But look, in the 20th century, people are so much aware of each other. And people have been traveling all over the world. The Christians have been traveling all over the world, and the Christians have met many types of belief system. So we have to change the way we look at the world, man. This is what Wilfred Cantwell Smith, taught for his fellow Christians. So he said there shouldn't be Christian theology of other religions. Okay, so bear in mind that before the introduction of comparative religion as a modern sciences in the study of religion, Christianity also did some study of other religions, but that was done purely in theology. Well, they were not so much interested in learning other religions, but they had to, especially after they encountered the Muslim. So they had to learn the theology of Islam in order to defend Christianity. But then the study of other religions during that time was very much confined to Judaism and Islam because they had to encounter these two religions, and that was done in theology. So it was with the advancement or the introduction of modern sciences that the Christians started to explore about other religions using different tools altogether, just like Wilfred Cantwell. So we were Smith say, okay, let's do away with this very exclusive theology, Christian theology of other religions. Let's let's introduce a new theology compatible to all religions of the world. So he introduced in 1979. He introduced what he called as world theology, a theology that can celebrate differences of religion. So, if Muslim can use this theology to discourse about their belief system, and so on and so forth. So, this world theology is a theology that puts coexistence, respectfulness, tolerance, at the top, and a theology that can celebrate differences of religion. So in terms of Wilfred Cantwell Smith's contribution to religious pluralism, I would regard that world theology is a preamble to religious pluralism. Because he has yet to formulate religious pluralism as such, but he has prepared the ground for religious pluralism to take off. When John Hick came later, it was so easy for the discourse to launch because the foundation is all there. Secular humanism has become the the religion of today, the belief system of today. Yeah? And then when people follow this colored religion, and Wilfred Cantwell Smith introduced another alternative to theology that is based on particular religion into new theology that he called as world theology. And that is so comfortable enough, very dynamic context for religious pluralism to take off. Alright, so basically what I want to highlight about Wilfred Cantwell Smith, 5 ideas here. So he blamed the word religion as misleading, and he said the Western intellectual discourse had to be blamed because of this meaning, and he said the way we understand religion is because this is how this concept is interpreted. Yeah? So he said that this concept is an evolving Western concept. He make it very clear. His criticism for the word religion, he said this is an evolving Western concept, and this concept is wrong. We are wrong because we have inherited this meaning for a very long time, at least for 2 centuries, 200 years, man. Yeah. And then the word religion also has encouraged for people to behave in an exclusive manner, and especially this is very true with regard to Christianity, and we should leave this way of perceiving religions other than one's own. Yeah? And he said that bear in mind that we should find or look for alternative meaning or definition or terms that can well explain religion. So he propagated, or he proposed two terms, faith and cumulative tradition. He said that faith belongs to a very specific, very sacred, very personal and subjective domain of human being. So you cannot measure it, you cannot study it, let it be as it is. Yeah? So it's beyond one comprehension. Yeah? Now let's take a look at the other dimension that is more discursive, that is more uh, can be attained by human reasoning, can be attained by human uh, senses. Yeah? which is cumulative tradition. So he regard religion as tradition from the past, inherited and accumulated. It's very dynamic, it's very relative, it's going to continue to evolve from one time to another, and because of that you should not judge, because that religious tradition is very much shaped by the context of the person, yeah, depending on where he lives, depending on his time, depending on time and space. So you cannot wrong the person because it's very relative, yeah, to that particular time and space. Yeah. And then he said that if we are able to appreciate religion as cumulative tradition, we are able to understand that religion, the word religion that we all this while discuss is actually a human construct. Religion, the whole lot about religion is human construct. It's human phenomenon. Human phenomenon. I mean, you don't talk about religion as revelation. But it's so. Do you understand or not? So religion is the whole lot about human, and this is what makes religious pluralism subtle. Because religion is the whole lot about how man think the right way to practice his religion. It's not revelation at all. Yeah. And Wilfred Cantwell say, let's have a new theology. If we are talking, if we are comparing, if you are dealing with differences, you cannot use, Muslim cannot use Islamic theology to analyze people of other religions. The Hindus cannot use her own theology. If there is theology in Hinduism, actually there is no theology in Hinduism. In, use the Hindu theology to analyze other religions. So let's use a theology that is neutral to everyone. It is called world theology of religions. And this world theology of religions, of course, reject exclusivism. This world theology of religion appreciates religion as human construct. So he actually formulated his understanding, his concept of faith and belief in the world theology. And at the core of it is that religion is a human construct. Alright. A friend said just now that he cannot hear my lecture properly because the internet connection is not good. So don't worry, because I'm recording this lecture and you will be able to listen to my lecture again. Alright. So that's about it with regard to Wilfred Cantwell Smith. Can I open up, say, 2 minutes for you if you have any questions? No question? So I carry on. Eh?
Prof, I have this question. When we in our
Okay.
university, when we study other religions with an Islamic perspective, is this what uh, this Wilfred Smith was against?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't get you
When
clearly.
we study our in our university, when we study these other religions with an Islamic perspective, we always integrate Islam, right? So, is this what Wilfred Smith was against?
Yes. Yes, exactly. So he's not fond of taking one particular religion as a basis of understanding not only other religions, but on the basis of understanding anything. Every discourse should be should be done away from religion, because in the Western modern discourse, if you use your religion to study any whatever subjects you have at your disposal, this is regarded as biased approach, because
Then,
you have what you call it, a preconceived ideas. You need to be neutral. This is how
uh,
they look at it.
then how do we like when it comes to us? How do we you
Mm.
know agree
Mm.
with, like, do we agree with him, or do we, like, what do we do?
Very good question. So, do you think that the university, taking IIUM as a model or as an example, do you think we agree with him? Just take a look at our department. Do you think is there any indication that uh, we conform to his meanings or his understanding. Let's take a look at the name of our departments.
We don't
Mm,
clear clearly.
yep, this is not the way we perceive, this is not the way we believe. Uh, Intellectual discourse should be discarded from religion. Even I think I have been teaching for many years, and the way we teach our students, we teach Usuluddin, but we also teach comparative religion, but we also bring our students to interact with people of other religions. This time around, you are very unlucky because if you are taking world religion 1 and 2, maybe you could not go to the temple, could not visit places of worship. So, but during the normal semester, we bring our students to visit places of worships and we have dialogue with people of other religions. And I believe that whenever we discuss about religions, we debate about religions, we give also the perspective objectively. Like I'm telling you what Wilfred Cantwell Smith said about this and that. If you have certain uncomfortable feelings towards what I'm saying, I think that is unavoidable because the way we understand religion, the way we understand sciences, not like the way the Western understand religion and sciences. Because in the West, sciences developed after they discarded religion, you know. But from the perspective of Islam or the Islamic intellectual tradition is vice versa. We became more advanced in scientific discoveries, in knowledge, when we were close to religion. Very interesting different experience between the Western and the so-called Islamic, the Muslim people or intellectuals experience. Yeah? So that what I would say. Well, this is academia. I mean, as long as you have your arguments, you can share your perspective, but people have also the right uh, to understand your arguments and to criticize you. This is what the academia is all about. Yeah, but make yourself sound. Otherwise, you you become like I said just now. I mean, people have questions about your credibility. Like I said just now about Diana L. Kind of very prominent philosopher, but as far as I can see, when I read her works, he did not even quote John Hitt. I mean, I found that very strange. Yeah. Uh, but I guess many do not care about that because everybody else do not care about what religious pluralism is all about. They just care about, oh, we want to make these people, the people of the world live together harmoniously. But they forget about what the first person who spoke about religious pluralism uh, had to offer. Okay, now let us go to John Heath. Thank you, Amna, for that question. We are left with another 20 minutes. And there's a lot to talk about John Hick because he's the father of religious wisdom. I'll try my very best to cover some of them and the remaining in our next meeting. All right, so first of all, John Hick, he said that how do you get your religion? How do you become a Muslim? How do you become a Christian? What makes you become? I mean, from the birth, how do you know? Not how do you know? How you become uh, a Muslim? How do you affiliate your religion to your current religion? Is that a choice for you? So he said that religion is actually by luck. This is what John Hill said. The word he used, religion is a fortuity of birth. This is a term that he used. Religion is by the fortuity of birth. It's by fortune. If you're born in America, most likely you are Christian. If you're born in Malaysia, most likely you're Muslim. If you're born in Saudi, you're Muslim. But just imagine one day if the world becomes so pluralistic, then it's very difficult to justify or to defend his theory. Yeah? But he said, but not necessarily. Maybe you're born in America, but you're Muslims. Even you're better Muslims. Umar Sulaiman is better Muslim than any of the Muslims in the Arab countries, isn't it? Maybe you're born in Malaysia and you're Muslim, but you're very bad Muslims, even bad than Muslims who are living in where in America or in China. Yeah? So, but that's how John Hake believed that your religion is by luck. What do you think? So, God is how do you explain the action of God in that manner? I mean, if you believe as such, then God does not plan well, just do things what He likes. Is that what you're trying to say? Well, you know that in Christianity, this is not as such. In fact, the Christians believe that if you're Christians, that's because God has grace upon you. If you're not Christian, sorry, too bad. God does not love you. That's why if you want to be loved by God, become Christians. We come with the idea that Jesus Christ had died for you. So if you want God's love, join us. Become Christian, then you deserve God's love. Otherwise, too bad. The fact that you're not born Christians is because God's grace is not on you. It's not upon you. So you see the discourse of free will and predestination is even uh, gross in Christianity at one point of time, especially among the Protestants, because the Protestants, Martin Luther, John Calvin believed that to be religion is by grace of God. If you're not born Christians, if you're not chosen to be Christians, too bad. That's because God does not keep His grace on you. Later we are going to discuss how is it that we become Muslims? Is it God selecting us? Or you Muslim, you become non-Muslim? How is that perceived in Islam? We will discuss this later. But this is how the Christians believe. And this bothered many of the Christian theologians, including John Hill. Read the biography of John Hill. It will be so, I would say, inspired. He's very dedicated man. He's very rebellious. He was excommunicated. You know what excommunicated? Excommunicated means that he was ordained priest and he taught at the ministries. But then because of certain idea, he was regarded as controversial. So he was no longer recognized by the church. He can no longer teach at the church. That's what it means by excommunicated. At least another person by the name of Hanscom also was excommunicated because he criticized the Christian church. So John Hick was regarded as not teaching the right uh, belief of Christianity. He was excommunicated from the church, and he was also accused as heretic. Yeah, I mean, interesting. That's why I say, read his work, you will find his dedication, mashallah. He had usrah every day after work. Hmm. What about us? When I read his book, mashallah, and he write every single diary about his activities. He was young, so he had usrah, the so-called usrah lah, not real usrah. After work, he had coffee with his friend when they discussed Christian theologies, mashallah. Debated about Christian theology. He managed to convince some of his friends about his dilemma when discussing about Christian theology. You see, we have to believe the new way, cannot retain this belief. So, actually, his idea of religion as a fortuity of birth is actually implying his challenging the idea of grace of God in Christianity. The idea of free will and predestination, that you are designed to be Christian. You are not choose to be Christian, but you are designed to be Christian. And when design you to be Christian, God selects you because He has grace over you. But if He does not select you, too bad you're not having this grace. So this is so-called, if I were to give the comparison very loose one, don't get me wrong. I mean, this is a kind of Hanbalites idea. Like You are just like a fur in the air. You know, you are blown to wherever by the air, by the wind. So you basically have no choice. Okay, that is one thing. And secondly, John Hick challenged the doctrine of salvation. He said we should believe by the Christians for this in 3 to 5. Okay, I'm so sorry. I think I lost you for a while because of the internet connection. Can someone tell me if you can still listen to me?
Yes, Prof. Now we can. Earlier we could not.
Uh, just now, you lost me, right? And many of your friends are not in the class now. Yes, we. Can you tell your friends if you have their WhatsApp? Can you ask them to enter again because oh, they are still 37. Everybody is here still. I hope. I can only see some of you on my screen, but not the rest of you. Okay, Aiman. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Aiman. So never mind since I'm recording and I'm going to share with you, can see the later part. Yeah, about the doctrine of salvation to John Hick. Okay? John Hick believed that salvation should be reviewed. The doctrine of salvation should be reviewed. Yeah? Can someone help to explain what is the doctrine of salvation? Especially those who have taken study of religion 1 or world religion 1. What is the doctrine of salvation?
Assalamualaikum, Doctor. Can I try?
Yeah. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So, I haven't take what religious class. Okay. So this is my attempt from what I've heard before. So, from my understanding, the concept of salvation is when all the people were saved from the sin.
How? In Christianity, how
Through
someone is saved from the sin?
when Jesus sacrificed himself, the blood of Jesus purified all the original sin caused by Adam and Eve.
Okay, because Jesus has sacrificed himself and therefore man has to recognize the sacrifice, right?
Yes,
You can only recognize the sacrifice if you become
a
Christian.
Christian.
Thank you, Shakir. So that is what
Okay.
salvation. This is a central theology, okay, in Christianity. I mean, for Muslims, you believe in Tawhid, right? For Christianity, they should believe in salvation. Like Shakir said, you have to believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross to save mankind from the original sin. Mm. And John Hick challenged this fundamental doctrine. What say you? He dared to challenge. No wonder the Christians regard him as heretical. He's bringing new meaning to the doctrine of salvation. And he said that salvation, in his meaning, have to acquire the idea of transformation. It's not transformation of Najib Tun Razak. Transformation. Okay. So what is transformation? Transformation from self-centeredness to reality-centeredness. Sorry. Transformation from reality, from self-centeredness, reality-centeredness to God-centeredness. Well, actually, he has introduced two terms lah for this. Um, It is derived from a single term reality. That's why I used the word reality just now. But one reality with capital R, this refers to God, and another reality with small r, this refers to what? This refers to the non-God. Now you can recall what I have discussed about the concept of Tawhid, right? Then he also speak about the existence of these two realms. The realms of reality. Reality is one with capital R, another one with the small letter r. The capital R belong to the realm of God, and the small r belong to the realm of non-God. So he said that all this while Christianity always, look at his or her religion, his religion as belong to himself or to herself, because he perceived that the reality with capital R with Christianity alone. Yeah? Now he said we have to transform the way we understand that we are we are what you call that? We are believing in the capital R as he is the God of everybody, and he is perceived differently in different traditions. He is perceived differently in different traditions. Now, there is a question from Sister Fatiha, I think. Um, no. Okay, Sister Alia talk about confessions. Yeah, confession is actually a doctrine within Catholicism je, ya. Protestant do not have this doctrine of confession. What is doctrine of confession? The doctrine of confession is that if you have committed certain misbehavior, sin, and you want to make it up, you go to the church and confess in front of a father, of a priest, and you pay certain ransom lah. So the father will have the capacity to forgive you, because in the Catholic churches, they regard the church as the body of Jesus, and Jesus has entrusted some power to the church to the extent that the church can forgive men. But this is not practiced in the Orthodox Church and not in the Protestant churches. Yeah? So confession is not a general doctrine in Christianity. The Protestants were against confession. Yeah. So this confession is for the small sin that you did, like cursing people or backbiting. Yeah. But if you kill people, then you still subject to the law. It's or adultery. Then this you can confess to the priest lah, and the priest can help to recover you from your sin. Yeah? But the sin mentioned by Shakir Aiman just now is not simple sin. Yeah? It's the original sin. What is original sin? Let's check. What is original sin? Cepat.
Hello, Assalamualaikum doktor.
Yeah. Yes.
So, original sin is the first sin that was made by humankind. To be specific, it's committed by Adam and Eve when they ate the apple.
Okay, thank you Shakir for enlightening us. So this is our original sin according to the Christians, when Prophet Adam eaten from the fruit of knowledge. Yeah? So that is the original sin, because of that sin, what happened to Adam? Adam and Eve had to be sentenced to punishment. They were sent to the earth. Otherwise, they would have, resolved staying or relaxing in the heaven. They need not to suffer from having to work. They need not to suffer of, like women have to give birth, right? So the sending of Adam to earth is a punishment, is an inherited sin, because of that every one of us we had to live in this world. Otherwise, we would have stayed in the heaven. So Adam was to be blamed, and Jesus Christ was so nice, because he sacrificed himself for the sake of mankind. Selling indulgence certificate during the dark ages. Yes, yes. Yeah, confession and indulgence come together. Uh, Confessions and indulgence. Except that indulgence is more greater lah, especially like what happened during that time. If someone died and not baptized, a Christians have to baptize, because they believe that Jesus baptized himself. He was baptized by Saint John. Yeah. And then, if a Christian has yet to baptize, so he died, what happened to him? Ah, so according to Christian theologian, he will be placed in a place in between heaven and hell. If you learn the Mutazilite still view, have you heard of the word manzilatan? Baina manzilatan. The Christians also had this belief, the Catholics believe that if someone died and not baptized, he will not go to heaven nor to hell. He will just get stuck in between the two realms. So, how to help him? The family can buy a certificate from the church, from the father. That is called indulgence. So, buy the certificate from the father, and the father can baptize the dead person, and the dead person can go straight to the heaven. Ah. So that makes the Protestant church very angry, because the church was making a lot of money in selling the indulgence, and people became more or less Christians lah, negligence to religion, negligence to become good Christian, because people know that even after they die, they can still buy heaven. And how many of you have been to Europe? How many of you? I've never been to the US, but I've been to Canada, been to some countries in Europe, and I think I know why the Protestant churches are not so happy with the Catholic churches. I mean, you go there, you find the churches, mashallah, very, very big and massive and luxurious. How do they earn money? I mean, if you go to Paris, you'll find mashallah the churches, very big mansion. Agama. So that makes the Protestants angry with the church, because they are capitalizing on human. Yeah, to the extent that there was a king who wanted to marry his own daughter. So, but then in that case, the church did not grant him the permission. So this king asked her, this is a real story. The king wanted to marry his own daughter. Maybe because the king had many concubine. So, well, actually her daughter lah, his daughter lah juga. And then the church did not allow him to marry. So the king said he can pay how much he want, as long as I can marry my daughter. All right. So we are the idea of salvation just now, transformation from reality centeredness to God centeredness, from the small letter R to the capital letter R. From only looking at yourself, Christianity at as the core, as the center, to understanding God as the center, and Christianity, just like any other religions, um, surrounding around God. Yeah? And from this point, I will elaborate the next point next week. Yeah, about theology of the new theology of Christianity. Yeah, uh, from a Christocentric theology to God-centric theology. Yeah, using John Hick used the analogy of Copernicus theology of religion. It is quite technical, but I think I will leave you at this point with this term, Copernicus theology of religions, as the way to help the Christians to reform their understanding of the others. So that's about it for today. Thank you very much for listening and for your patience. Inshallah, I'll see you again next class, and take care. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Spare your questions to our next meeting. Bye bye.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Uh,
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, madam.
Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Doctor, before I leave, I have one question last.
Boleh.
Uh,
Yes.
okay, regarding yang pasal written assignment tu for the article review,
Mm-hmm.
actually I dah siap daripada minggu lepas. Can I hantar dekat you dulu for like
Boleh. You put on
consultation?
the platform Google Classroom tu kan, and then I can have a look at it, and then I can give feedback lah. Kalau you
Okay,
need
so
some modification, boleh.
macam kena
Ah.
buat ada indication yang that is not the final product ke?
Boleh. Just bagi tahu nanti. Tidak bagi tahu macam nanti. Tapi masukkan dekat Google Classroom lah. Sebab nanti bila I kata you masuk, you buat yang baru, you akan masukkan yang baru pula. So I akan
Okay.
evaluate you based on yang baru. Tapi 2 kali je lah Syakir. Cannot be more because banyak kerja nanti.
Faham.
Alright. You
So
bagi
I
draft lah.
hantarkan
So, you tulis kat atas tu draft. You tulis kat atas tu
okay,
draft.
true.
Hmm.
Hantar dekat Google Classroom yang
Ah,
under
assignment tu.
yang
Article review.
okay. Article review.
So
Okay,
nanti
thank you
I akan
doctor.
respond
Thank you
kat situ. Kan nampak ada conversation yang kat situ kan. So I will respond to you kat situ. Alright.
Okay, I see. Okay, thank you doctor. Assalamualaikum.
Sorry,
Alright. Salam.
Prof, I don't understand Malay. Can I know what, like, we can upload on Google Classroom the first draft, and then we'll get your feedback, and then we can upload the final draft tomorrow?
You mean the writing assignment?
Yes, Prof. The written assignment, article review.
Yes. You can submit the first draft. You put draft lah. Put draft, and then I will have a look at it, and then I will respond. I will comment, and then you submit the real one.
Tomorrow, inshallah. By tonight, you will
Oh,
respond.
no. Just before the deadline. When is the deadline?
Tomorrow is the deadline.
Oh, tomorrow is the
Thursday.
deadline.
Or can we extend the deadline?
Oh, okay. Just submit. Put it as
Then we
draft.
submit the final one or the first draft?
The first draft, and then when I respond to you, then you submit quickly lah the real draft. Supposedly if you're sending me the draft, you send like 3 days earlier, 1 week earlier, then you have enough time to work on it. But if you submit it later like this, you have very limited time to work on the draft, isn't it? But I can take a look lah at your work and give you immediate response.
Okay.
Alright. Okay, Salam.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Liana.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you, madam.
Yeah, alright. Okay, bye, Mas Alright, Assalamualaikum.